Welcome everybody to the second video on this channel, and actually we have a other second channel coming up. It's a gaming channel called Hoops Nation Gaming. We'll have the link in it once we have the first video out and just everything's up to par. But anyway, this is about a tragic story of a player that could have been great, you know. He was the talk of the town, basically the big thing in Chicago. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. Taken, failed, murdered, a prodigy, a legend in the making. Ben Wilson was no ordinary man. Actually, he was only 17 years old, but he was already a star, a focal point for a dead city, a city of drugs, murder, and poverty. Sadly, though, there really wasn't any chance to escape the mean streets of Chicago to make a life worth living. He couldn't overcome just that, and like all others, the environment he grew up in would finally doom him in his ever so promising career. His life was forever honored as the one who couldn't make it, the one who's fatally murdered on that chilly November day. The city of Chicago has boasted some of the NBA's most premier talent, but what if I told you there's one that slipped away? One thing I would like to say is that this story won't revolve around his childhood or how he began his ultimate journey, but instead it will focus on the lives he touched with the game he played, how he was the next big thing. A young baller. Growing up, Ben Wilson lived a lucky life in Chicago. With gang outbreaks raging through the city, Wilson remained untouched throughout all the blood-filled violence. However, it still fazed him, it shook him, and so he made it his mission to stay away, to elude all the violence and drugs that was slowly consuming the city. Wilson applied to a select school, one known for its safety. He was accepted, which ultimately started his new life, his star life. As a newly selected student, Wilson would try out for and make the freshman team for Simeon High. A 5'10" basketball player would start off at the bottom of the depth chart, slowly climbing and improving his game over time. After a subpar season, he headed off into the summer as a boy, but returned as a man. Taking flight, Ben Wilson was ready. His body had finally morphed into the physical structure needed to make a name, and he did. However, things didn't start off the way Wilson wanted them to be. He didn't make the cut. He fell short during his tryouts for the varsity team, so he hoped, dreamed, and worked. Thankfully, two of Wilson's close friends convinced Simeon's head coach to give him one more shot, a shot of redemption, and he delivered, showcasing his silky smooth jump shot over and over and over again. That was enough. He made the team, and now no one would stand between Ben Wilson and his path to greatness. Chicago, Illinois, 1982, Simeon High School. Wilson leans over with a locked expression covering his face. He was ready for the first game of his varsity career. The announcer bellows his name, rises up, looking at the glimmering crowd awaiting for the game to go forth. Sweat trickles down from his face as he joins his fellow teammates waiting for the national anthem, awaiting for tip-off, awaiting truly for his legacy to begin. A legend has risen. After the first game, everything clicked, and he would only improve from that point forward, using every failure as his motivation and every great moment as a building block. His games would go from 17 points to 20 points to 22 points and so forth, until he was Simeon High School. Throughout his sophomore year, Wilson continued his work ethic, improving day in and day out, until finally the end of the season approached. Wilson and his teammates didn't qualify for states, leaving them to watch the true show from their couches, so like the player he was, he practiced, he trained to improve his game that much more. The Messiah. Ben Wilson would go forth into his junior year growing even more, mentally and physically. He was destined to lead Simeon to the promised land. It was his life's goal, and all signs pointed towards the direction as Simeon remained undefeated throughout most of the season, until Chicago, Illinois, 1983, Farragut High School. A rivalry that had been forged a decade prior was still continuing its intensity on the court, but in the first instance, Wilson's rise into a starting position, all signs pointed towards an eventual loss. This all came into formation after a hard foul on Simeon's very own Jakari Sampson, who then proceeded to make his way over to the line. He then sunk the first free throw, cutting Farragut lead to 4. A chilling whisper spread across the ever-so-restless crowd. Then, an outbreak occurred. The stands empty. As Farragut fans charged at the fearful Simeon squad, there was one common consensus acknowledged by Simeon's players. It was that no one would lay a hand on Ben Wilson. So, that was what it was going to be. The players shielded Wilson as they booked him into the locker room, closing themselves off from the ravenous violence outside their door. The refs called the game to avoid further violence, which, in turn, handed Simeon its first loss of the season. Demoralizing as it may be, the Simeon squad still completed the rest of the season without another loss, throttling the squad into states where their true test would begin. After easily making their way through the first couple of games, Simeon and Ben Wilson finally came to a halt at their first major roadblock, Martin Luther King Jr. High School. Their opponents were known for their tenacious defense. Although this game would only mark as the semifinals, many believed the winner of this match would go on to win state. King against Simeon, the be-all to end-all. Thousands of fans entered the arena to see two NBA-bound stars clash, Ben Wilson and Kenny Battle. After a while, the game was tied, 58-58, with a minute to play. Battle had the ball, dribbling on a fast break. He looks up just to see success so close, but that would never be obtained. Wilson comes running through, snatching the ball from Battle. Then he would proceed and throw the ball to a wide-open Takari Sampson for an easy layup. That would truly be the end of the game, with King High School never really recovering from that moment. And the fans were right. Simeon did end up winning the championship game, clinching the golden trophy to forever hoist up in the lights of Simeon Gym. Terror reigns. Ben Wilson heads into the offseason as a champion. However, there's still much improvement needed in order for Simeon to repeat. To do something no other Chicago high school squad has ever done, win back-to-back championships. As the start of a new season, a new year approaches, Wilson recruited some help to make his team that much better. As a senior, all eyes looked towards Wilson as college recruiters practically threw themselves at the star-studded prospect. He was the talk of the country, the man of the town. He was also recently ranked as the #1 player in the nation, heightening his star status that much more. Wilson and his girlfriend, Tanya Rush, walk bickering with one another. As they verbally fight, Wilson accidentally runs into the gang member, David Moore. He and Moore start to bicker themselves, both not getting any ground. However, in one fatal move, Wilson sees the end. Wilson lunged at Moore, who would then take 2 steps back and fire. 2 bullets located around Wilson's hip, causing him to stop and fall. Blood spouting from himself, all Wilson could do was reflect on his once great life ticking to an end. It seemed to be all of Simeon who reigned over to mourn the death of this great, the ultimate embodiment of this once great state. And so, another one fell to the violence that consumed the city. One more death added to the toll. It shocked all of whom who inhabited the city, but left a permanent scar consuming one's soul. Really though, we all have to ask what could have been. What future would this world behold? He was a legend in the making, one who was taken from our lives. However, we still do worship the man with the name of Ben Wilson, the one with really no escape.